speaking of smoking marijuana, would you recommend smoking or vaping marijuana during the time of using THC oil, or in the case of say Vietnam, where it's hard to get THC oil, would it be of help at all?
I recommend for smokers that they should switch on joints, because then they will stay away from tobacco, but non-smokers, they should use vaporizers. But it's the same effect, And for vaping, I prefer flower, not the concentrate, because it's much better. It's much better. Also, yes. Also with the cancer, with lung cancer and so on, they vape or smoke the flower, not inhale the extract.
Like a patient treating cancer right now, he or she could also smoke or vape cannabis. No cons, just pros. Or
one thing that you need to know about the difference between smoking something and vaporizing it, smoking with a lighter, is the temperatures. When you're vaporizing, you're not getting the carcinogens that are in the regular flower. You're just getting the oils vaporized at the right temperature, and that's what I heard.
Different cannabinoids have a different boiling point. If you set vaporizer too low, you will not get the higher boiling cannabinoids. With cigarette you get, or with joint you get all of them, and it's the same. I'm smoker for more than 40 years, and I tried both, but actually it's the same.
There's the whole issue of vaporizing because of different vaporizing technologies. Some have a coil exposed where the vaporizing occurs off that very hot coil, and depending on whether you're dealing with a full plant extract, or typically for the vape pens that they sell, they dilute them with various additives. And what they're finding in a number of cases is people getting some severe lung injury from some of the consequences of some of those things. There are alternative and more sophisticated technologies where the coil is hidden basically behind ceramics, etc. So there are different ways. I had sensitive lungs my whole life, and I never liked vaporizing, because no matter what I vaporize, it would bother me, with the exception of the volcano where you vaporize nice bud. Otherwise, I won't touch a vaporizer. There's one that's very sealed with a little water pipe, a battery. It's kind of like a little dabbing thing. I forgot the name of it. That's almost pretty good.
I think that the question was whether smoking and vaping replaces eating the oil when treating cancer. No, it does not. But smoking, especially if the patient likes it, definitely should be part of the cannabis therapy, and preferably from morning to all the time. Against anxiety, for acute conditions, this and that, smoking can be very beneficial for many people, especially if they like it. If they don't have to, but I would.
One thing that you have to keep in mind is that a lot of these people who are vaporizing, using vapor pens and having lung issues, they have additives in them, like vegetable oils or coconut oils or things like that. You want to get a pure concentrate, and you could use like a vapor globe or something like that, and that way you're just getting the pure cannabis oils, not all of these other additives, and I think that's what's causing all these lung problems.
Hello. I have a question referring to microdosing. How can we differentiate between placebo effect and just a positive effect of, for example, low concentrations of THC? Because placebo effect is real and it's there in every medicine.
As Bob says, why do you care? No, it's microdosing. Again, cannabis is mainly food. It's really not the thing that people smoke. It used to be a basic food item. So, you know, hemp seed is beneficial for your bowel, then if your bowel is okay, the rest of your body is okay too. The rest, for me, microdosing is anything under half a gram of oil a day. You know?
So all microdosing is not created equal?
So again, it depends on what it is. Many people have had really great results with cosmetics or tinctures made from industrial hemp, which is low THC. There's always some microdosing, but microdosing with what? We don't know. That would really require extensive testing by a group of people that would be really interested in the subject. You don't find those among most doctors, so you have to wait.
But the question is, what is microdosing? Because if you take 1 milligram per day or 2 milligrams, it's already microdosing. So, you know, what kind of microdosing you have in mind? You have to try. You have to try. So.
From here?
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you guys are doing all over the world. One of the concerning things I heard a couple of days ago at the business conference was their DNA tagging some of the material in the US to follow it from seed to product. How do you feel about the DNA tagging, and do you think that's detrimental to the person who's taking it?
DNA?
They're putting kind of a cannabis product.
DNA tracking of
yeah,
cannabis?
The DNA tracking for the big companies that are doing medical grade.
That's what they're going to do. Nothing you can do to stop them.
Do you think that that's going to have a detrimental effect to the end product? Like it's almost like a radioactive?
Is the question about genetically modified cannabis?
It's
a biomarker in the cannabis.
Oh, biomarker. Well, anything a human will add to cannabis will most likely screw the cannabis.
Yeah. Four-letter string from the cannabis plant, so it's not genetically modified. It's just four characters from the already DNA string.
Okay.
So it's not anything that's my company does that.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's anything that's man-made. It's something we just take just four letters from the DNA.
So it's okay?
And for a patient, a lot of people are saying how much dosage and race and stuff like that. But is there any way to, especially with cancer patients, to see how effective the medicine is until it's like a biopsy or another invasive test? Is there like a thermo imaging scan or some way to see whether it's working before they get an all clear, kind of the stepping stones along the way? Is there anything that you guys use with your patients to see?
Get on the oil and see how you feel, and stay away from doctors as much as you reasonably can. No, it's not that I'm not happy that I'm saying that, but you know, unfortunately, from hundreds of cases, the patients are very likely to get wrong advice from their doctor, especially oncologists, and that can have tragic consequences, namely death. Do we want that? Not really. So, again, ideally, people would be getting the oil from oncologists, but it's gonna take 10 to 20 years for them to do basic research. So for the next 10 to 20 years, nobody is gonna get cannabis extract as a medicine of first choice for their cancer. That's the bureaucracy of the system, that's how it's set up. The whole medical system is set up so that it would be hard to reintroduce natural extracts into it. And those people were not stupid when they were designing the so-called evidence-based medicine. They wanted to protect their trade, and they did. And that's not gonna change, you know? It's gonna take really 10, 20 years.
disagree, because the more people that understand and they're learning, because it's their friends, their relatives, themselves, their parents that are getting better, they know the truth. And what's going to simply happen, the pharmaceutical industry is used to making big profits. And they're continuously trying to figure out how to do that with cannabis. And everything that they're doing is meaningless, because with the black market will simply take over. The black market can produce quality product, tested product at a reasonable price. Screw big pharma, screw the government, screw regulation.
I love this conference.
Okay, next question from this guy.
Hello. I have a question about the acetylcholine dosage, which wasn't answered, and the second question is about also mitigating possible negative effects from cannabis. I've read some studies on PubMed that it decreases.
We've used it a lot with people, and generally speaking, it comes in 250 milligram doses. I believe the maximum you could take altogether is something like 12 grams, which is quite a bit. But most people, it's again an individual type of thing. For some people, one capsule, 250 milligrams is fine. For other people, like that friend of ours who was taking 5 grams a day and over, he was taking a good, 10 or 12 grams of acetylcholine a day?
Yeah.
The guy from APGA. Oh, he did. He did for a while. He called me one day. Yeah, because he called me one day thinking I was Nixon. And then he took a massive dose of acetylcholine and he was fine. But again, it's an individual type of thing, and you got to experiment and find what's the point that works for you. And one thing that I have noticed is that they get a lot more clarity, they get a lot less anxiety, or less paranoia with it, and that's the main problems that you have as a side effect.
Okay, so I start with 250 milligrams and go from there.
Right, and some people, if they're smaller people, they don't need even that much. You could buy it in bulk very inexpensively and just experiment with yourself and find out what works for that individual. We're all different, and we all have different, points of tolerance.
Okay, and back to the second question I want to ask about possible negative effects of smoking. It's about potassium levels. Do you can relate to problem of low potassium in smokers?
I'm not sure about that, but it's always good to have a good amount of, minerals, potassium, magnesium, keep your levels at a normal rate.
Yeah, but on PubMed, I've read some studies that with smokers, potassium levels are lower than it should be. If you don't heard about it, then
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
Just say that smoking cannabis does not replace a healthy diet with many assorted things. No. It's probably a dietary mistake that those people in the studies were making.
Okay. Next.
Before the question, I just want to say something on the question before. If doctors and Big Pharma would do their homework, we would not sit here today.
Yeah.
So they failed, so therefore we
Ještě jednou, já se omlouvám, ještě mám dvě takové věci. Tady se hodně hovoří, já si myslím, že spousta lidí, kteří tady sedí, tápou trochu v tom, o čem se vlastně mluví. Protože vy někdy hovoříte o konopném, o CBD oleji, THC oleji, následně se mluví o extraktu. Já mám tu zkušenost, že na internetu je prodávaný například jako THC olej. Ve skutečnosti to je 10, jak jsem se dozvěděl, 10 ml konopného oleje, do kterého byly přidané 2 kapky extraktu. A to samé obdoba je tady na tom výstavišti, kde se prodávají nějaké oleje, ale jsou to roztoky. Takže ono by bylo dobré asi sjednotit to názvosloví. V tom je velký problém. Protože je nesmysl tvrdit, že někdo dostává, já nevím, silný extrakt jako olej, teda například THC, a přitom dostává zředěný extrakt. To je jedna věc. A druhá věc, jak se tady mluví, někdo chválí CBD, někdo chválí THC. Naše zkušenost, která je, protože Martině vlastně dělám každý rok konopí, dělám i jointy, dělám i přidavek do jídla a tinktury. A máme zkušenost tu, že ideální pro nás bylo, nebo je, aby měla vyvážený poměr THC, CBD. Když se nám stalo, že jsme jeli k rodině do Hodonína a já jsem bohužel, Martině zapomněl jointy doma, tak tam nám pomohl kamarád tím, že nám dal toto takzvané technické konopí a já jsem ji ubalil teda na ty 3 dny, aby to tam měla. Jo. Faktem je, že jí to pomohlo, ale bohužel jenom asi na 2,5 až řekněme ty 3 dny, potom začala tuhnout a museli, když jsme dojeli domů, dala si normálního jointa s tím vyváženým, takže dneska my užíváme konopí, kde je 6% THC a 7,5% CBD a zdá se nám to být ideální. Takže jenom to jsem chtěl jako říct, že ne každému čisté THC, ne každému čisté CBD. Je potřeba, myslím si, že ti lidi by měli sami laborovat, měli by sami zkoušet, co jim bude vyhovovat nejlépe. Děkuji vám.
Yes, this is what we were talking about, yes. You have to find the best solution for yourself, but the problem is why doctors doesn't like cannabis because you have to talk with people a lot. You know, you have to have the right feedback to help them. And they don't like, because in Slovenia they have 2 to 3 minutes for a patient per day, so it's not enough even to say hello and goodbye. So that's the problem.
Actually, in Israel, they open a new, they made patients to talk to a doctor. And patients are explaining to doctors exactly what's going on with them, and they have to listen to us because we stay alive. And to stay alive is to talk about it.
Well, one thing that we kind of have to understand is that the doctors have not been taught about the cannabinoid system, the endocannabinoid system. So we're really teaching them as we go along and we learn. So they're learning along with us. So we kind of got to give them a little bit of a break. So, you know, it's good to give your doctor feedback. I know a lot of us are scared. We don't want to tell our doctors what we're doing, but I just don't care anymore, and I tell them exactly what I'm doing. And, you know, with, again, going back to my diabetes, I told my endocrinologist, I was like, look, I'm using cannabis, I'm using this amount, and he actually put in my records, you know, cured cannabis oil. So we got to educate them as we educate ourselves.
Doctors are educated because off record, also oncologists, many of them will tell you get the oil.
Yes, they know.
So they know, but they may not say because it's bureaucratic agenda again, they will lose their job. Recently I heard even in Israel there are some changes to worse.
Move away
you know, so,
just because they was giving too much cannabis for the other doctors.
Yes, we know.
So other paying doctors make a petition to the Ministry of Health to say that.
So bureaucrats are the problem. Bureaucrats, not the politicians, not everybody, just the bureaucrats.
One thing that I've found working with doctors in Colorado is that if they're working at any level of the federal government, they can't say it. They just cannot say it, and they're not going to lose their jobs, they're not going to lose their income or lives for that. So again, sometimes you have to be a little careful with how you say things or what you do, but you know, I think a lot of them do know what's going on, but they can't say it.
When I come to talk to a doctor, I usually tell them cannabis cure cancer, and then you start to fight.
There are changes. In the last conference 2 weeks ago in Ljubljana, the president of medical chamber was sitting in the audience for whole day. So there are some changes. You know, a few years ago it was unimaginable.
Jak říkal pan Hanuš, komplex látek léčí lépe. Většinou se hovoří o užití dekarboxylovaných produktů. A já bych se chtěl zeptat, jestli má nebo nemá smysl obohacovat je o kyselé formy. Děkuji.
We have seen THCA work in a lot of cases that where with like children that you don't want to be using decarboxylated THC or THC delta 9. So I think every different cannabinoid, every different format that we get in these have value, and it depends on what's going on, what you use. So we have to again experiment ourselves. Be understanding of what is in your oils, understand what's in it, and then, give everybody feedback. Let's, talk to each other and see, all right, well, THCA is working for this seizure or it's working for this. And the more information we give each other, the more we're going to know about this. It's still a baby science.
I want to ask, what is the difference between, ingesting pills, including, CBD and THC, and the oils, including CBD and THC? What is the therapeutic difference between these two?
Oils? Well, if you have the oil, you can take a rolling paper, smear the oil on it, and test it by smoking first, which is what I would recommend ideally with any new oil. If you get it in pill form, how are you going to smoke it?
Orally, if you put it in the pill and you ingest it.
As a capsule?
Yes, as a capsule.
Okay. If you're using it as a capsule, you can ideally open the capsule before you swallow it. And also you use the type of capsules that dissolves in the stomach and not in the bowel. So that can be used too. But again, ideally, I think it's best to eat the oil from the fingers, scrape it on your teeth, and have the leftover oil there for sublingual. Plus, it disinfects your mouth and everything. So I think the preferred way of eating would be that you just take some oil from a jar and you eat it. Yeah, anything that somebody puts in a capsule form, be suspicious. I'm not saying that all oils supplied in capsule form are fraud, no, but very often they can be, especially when somebody starts mixing it with terpenes. And
is there any therapeutic difference between these two? Is there, in terms of efficiency perhaps?
I think there's a good reason to believe that efficiency would be slightly higher if people ate the pure oil the way I described. But if it's 5%, 10%, 50%, I really don't know. You want to get the oil inside. If you combine several ways of using it, that's topical, that's sublingual, that's oral, that's suppositories, and later on cancuzis, that would be ideal. Take the bath. And when they stop complaining, pull them back or pull them out. So thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you for your questions, for your attention, and let cannabis help to you who needs it and who is healthy, so keep your health, that we can only talk about that.